Hi, my name's Isaac, and this is a brand new Mazda CX-5 Carbon Edition. And today, I'm gonna review it for you guys. The CX-5 is Mazda's best-selling vehicle by a long shot. And in this video, I'd like to figure out why. Is it the dashing good looks, the luxurious interior? Is it this small plastic square behind the door handle designed to protect the paint during shipping? Okay, probably not that last one, but I don't want to rule anything out yet. So let's find out together.
Before we begin, I'd like to thank Scott Mazda for allowing me to borrow this vehicle to review. For all your Mazda needs, I'll leave a link to Scott's website in the description below.
As I mentioned up top, this CX-5 is a looker, especially in the Carbon Edition. The black accents and the curvature of this overall front fascia are incredibly visually appealing. I guess that was a big sentence. It looks really good. I think that this is one of the best looking midsize SUVs on the market today, and every time I see one, I am still shocked to say, wow, I cannot believe that is a Mazda. Speaking of the front end, you'll have full LED headlights right here with incandescent turn signals, and then moving towards the middle of the grille, the Mazda logo is not simply a logo. It's also a sensor for the safety technology this comes equipped with. That works in conjunction with the camera that's mounted at the top of the windshield. That's your radar-guided cruise control, your lane keeping assist, stuff like that. Moving underneath this hood, it is powered by what Mazda calls its Sky Active G 2.5 liter inline four-cylinder. That makes 187 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. And that is paired to, again, what they would refer to as their Sky Active 6-speed automatic transmission. Little disappointing to see a 6-speed in here. I would have personally liked an 8-speed. A lot of the competition is going to that, or even a 10-speed. Perhaps that's on the way for Mazda, but for right now, the 6-speed does work quite well. Moving to the profile of the CX-5, starting down here with the wheels and tires, you're going to get 19-inch blacked out wheels with 225/55R Toyo tires wrapped around them. Now personally, I really like the blacked out look. I think it's really sleek and complements the rest of this SUV very well. I know other people are like, no, blacked out wheels are so overdone, they're cliche, but personally, I really think it works here, and this is part of the carbon package. So if you didn't want these wheels, you can obviously forego that, get a different trim. You will have these little kind of fender flare matte black plastic pieces that go along the side, not as wide as they are on the CX-50 that I recently reviewed. This is a little bit more on-road city focused than that. That one's a little bit more off-road. Then if we move up here to the mirror, it is piano black with a turn signal indicator incorporated into it. And then you also are going to get blind spot monitoring here as well. This does have keyless entry. Great to see that. And if we move around the back here, you'll have pretty nice tail lights. You'll see Sky Active G right there. That's the engine configuration. That's the name. And then you do get dual exhaust, which is really cool to see on what is basically a family hauler. Oh good, no, there's a train going by. Oh no, thank you. All right, thank you. All right, well, guess I need to stop reviewing things next to train tracks. I'd like, if a dealer's like, hey, do you want to review this? I have to check if there's a train within 15 miles. Now, once we move inside, you can see there is quite a deal of cargo space back here. Obviously, since this just arrived, this has the rubber floor mats in here. They're not actually in the rest of the vehicle yet. One really cool thing that I just love in this rear interior is every SUV, you can drop the second row seats. You know, this is not a new concept. What I have never seen before is right here, you can see there's two grab handles. If I pull this inner one outward, that drops the center armrest third seat. So let's say you had a TV or a plank of wood that you wanted to slide through here, you could do that without dropping the other two seats. That is so smart. Absolutely love that idea. What a brilliant concept from Mazda. So simple. And then of course, if we want, we can drop the other seats by pulling those, and that gives us a more flush load floor back here with an even larger amount of cargo room. All right, here we are on the interior of the CX-5, and I was not kidding when I said it was luxurious. This is one of the nicest mid-level SUV interiors, there's a tongue twister, that I've ever been in, and I mean it. It is so plush, so comfortable in here. Let's start with the door panel, as I often do. Up here, this is a leather or leatherette material, very comfortable with nice stitching. You can rest your arm up here really well. Love to see that on there. You don't get that on a lot of SUVs. Down here, equally as comfortable. Leather material, and then you'll have red accent stitching to match the seats, and just like, look at the cool little texture right there on the door. So you can see a lot of stickers, as I made a joke about in the intro. This has just arrived, so it's still got all of its shipping stickers. This one I can take off if I can. I don't have much of a nail. I just trimmed my nails. But here we go. So we get this off here, and I mean, just look at how amazingly pristine that is. What a cool design. And everything in here just feels really high tech. Now I gotta get the sticker off my hands. All right, we'll get to that in a minute. Over here you also have a button to raise and lower the lift gate. So another function to be able to do that. A lot of different choices. Then up here you have some sort of off-road mode. It looks like a terrain mode that comes up on the dash when you hit that button. Then you'll have traction control off right here. The dashboard is trimmed in this really fine leatherette material. I mean, it just looks really premium. The climate vents look really premium. And then up here, the screen, it just goes so well with the rest of this interior. But we're going to talk about the screen in a minute, because it's a little interesting. First, we want to talk about the steering wheel. You'll have leather wrapped, of course, with red accent stitching, of course. And this has your controls for the radar guided cruise control, Bluetooth, volume. Really like the volume button on this. This is just really firm and sturdy. I know I use my steering wheel controls on my truck all the time, so I love a good steering wheel control for the volume. In the gauge cluster, it is a mix of old and new. This center part right here is digital, this is digital, and this little tiny part down there is digital for your drive mode. So for example, if I put it in drive, you'll see that's digital. You can see the different modes running through there. And then if we move to the steering wheel controls right here, we can see that there is a little tiny bit of customization when it comes to the gauge cluster screen here on the right. You can see a lot of different things that you can kind of tune through. You can change what you want to see, but I like that it's a mix of old and new. I think it's a cool design, and it still retains a very premium feel. You'll have a pretty nice sound system in here. I can't play anything, but you'll have tweeters in the A-pillars. Always love to see that. And then I suppose that brings us to the infotainment system. So, you may know this and you may not. This is not a touch screen. Nothing on here is touch. You know, again, it has got a plastic protector. I'll just go around that for a minute. I want to give the owner, whoever buys this, the satisfaction of taking that plastic off. Though I imagine the dealership will anyway, but no touchscreen, so no touchscreen functionality. So how do you control this screen? Well, Mazda wants you to keep your eyes on the road, and so what they've done is they have a little dial down here, very similar to Lexus, that you would go through. So I can keep my eyes on the road, my hand on the steering wheel, and I can still tune through this. Now, I personally think I could still do this pretty easily with my hand, but Mazda wants to keep your eyes right here. And so they've created this little dial, and you can go into your different things. You can click into it. You can see AM, FM, Pandora. This also does have Apple CarPlay. Now, what's curious is the Apple CarPlay on the CX-50 was touchscreen, The rest of the screen was not touch capacitive at all. This is not touch capacitive at all, even with the Apple CarPlay. So I've tried it and it does not work. It is not a touchscreen for that either. You have to use the little dial down here. And of course, you have your buttons to pull up navigation and your home and your music, little quick shortcuts if you want. And there is a nice little volume dial down here, which I like to see that there's still a physical one. And then moving on, you'll have your electronic parking brake, your auto hold, and then this is very fascinating, this button right down here. So this is your sport mode button, and it's so premium looking. I mean, look at how nice that is. And all that does is you push up for sport, it'll tell you in that little gauge cluster that it's in sport mode, and then you push down to turn it off from sport. It does not have any other modes. The only function is sport mode, but look at how nice the button is. I really appreciate that attention to detail, just like you'll have the attention to detail here with the red stitching in the leather on the gear shifter, and here along where you would rest your leg. So nice. I mean, Mazda's just killing it. And then right here you will have your climate controls, and then this does have heated seats. Ooh, I better turn that off because it's like already like 90 out today. No cooled seats in this particular Carbon edition, though I believe it is an option. Heated seats is always nice to see. And you will get a sunroof on this particular version. Love to see that. Not panoramic, but it is nice to still have a regular sunroof, which is controlled with the buttons up here. If I had to levy one complaint with this, I would say probably this light right here. Actually, all the lights in the interior are still like a halogen incandescent yellow. I would prefer LED blue. I know a lot of vehicles still do that actually, where they just have these basic incandescent bulbs. They're very dim. I don't like them. I have switched mine in my truck out to LED blue. I think it makes the interior feel more premium, and I think this would really benefit from that. But for the most part, it is very luxurious in here, and it does feel very premium. All right, let's take a look at the back seats. Now these rear seats are just as comfortable as the front seats are. You will get climate vents back here, and then you do have a fold down armrest. Man, this third seat is just so multi-purpose. I love it. You also have a little storage area in there with 2 USBs. How clever is that? Absolutely love to see it, and this is really comfortable. I would say you could fairly comfortably fit 3 people back here. 2 is definitely ideal, but there's a lot of leg room and there's also a good deal of headroom here. So I'm 5'9" and I have quite a lot of room. This is a very open and spacious interior. I just clicked film and I'm stuck in traffic. I came to a stop, stuck in traffic. All right, well, this Mazda CX-5 sits in traffic great. It's a great traffic sitter. I mean, honestly, it is. You got dual power driver and passenger seats, and they are very comfortable. Driver has lumbar support, which is really nice. Let's go, baby. Turning into more traffic. Lovely. This is gonna be just a sick review. There's like, whoa, that's the biggest AutoZone I've ever seen in my life. I think it was a grocery store at one point. Yeah, it was a grocery store. Cheese and crackers. It's like, you ever been to like a Giant or a Weis? If you're not in like the eastern side of this country in America, you're not gonna know what I'm talking about, and I have viewers from all over. Think of the biggest grocery store you've ever been to in your life, and it's that AutoZone. And I assume the grocery store went out of business. And so they were like, well, we can't just make like half this grocery store in AutoZone. We have to make the whole thing in AutoZone. And so now it's like, can I take this? Yeah, I can take this headrest out. Look at how big that is. Look at how big this AutoZone is. That's ginormous. It's crazy. I wonder if the inside is as big, like if they're using all the space, or if it's like just a tiny part is an AutoZone. Because what would you even fill? How can this AutoZone be busier than any other AutoZone? Like, I just feel like you wouldn't be able to justify that. I think the light's gonna turn green, and soon it did just turn green. I'm gonna have a straight shot to actually get it up to speed here as we merge onto the highway, and you don't have to listen to me ramble about random things. Though, personally, that cracks me up the most when I'm just me and I'm silly, and so I hope you guys like that as well. As we merge onto the highway, this 6-speed automatic is actually pretty breezy. I said the same thing for the CX-5. I was actually impressed with how quickly this gets up to speed. You really don't feel the gear changes in this particular, oh my word, I got a great blind spot because I have the window sticker right there. Yeah, you don't really feel the gear changes in this, and I think that's really great. Let's put it in sport. We are in sport. Oh, I felt something in the gas tighten up a little bit here. So let's give it the beans. Oh, it sounds louder. Sounds a little bit different. It is, yeah, it's definitely faster in sport. Sport is definitely the ideal while we're merging on here. It sounds better. The beans I'm giving it are way more adequate. Yeah. Yeah, sport's far superior. All right, guys, that almost wraps up this video, but not quite yet, because I'd like to be able to read a little bit of scripture for you. Today, I'm going to be reading from James 1, starting in verse 22. I really like this section of scripture, and if you've never read the Bible, don't worry, I'll give you a little bit of context. So James is talking about reading the Bible here and living that faith out in your actions. Now, I don't believe that doing good things will save you. Catholics believe that, but the Bible is very important to note that it's not by our works that we've been saved, it's through God's grace and our faith that is our salvation. So works are not what get us to heaven, but it's very important to still live out a Christian life once you accept God, as James says here, brother of Jesus. Verse 22, but be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word, but not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away, and at once forgets what he looks like. But the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be blessed in his doing. So it's not saying that to have a relationship with Jesus, we absolutely have to be on top of doing good works. But that comes naturally with our relationship to God. If you've accepted Jesus, but you don't want to serve people and tell people about him and help wherever you can, I don't know if you necessarily accepted Jesus. That might be some selfish inhibition still lingering in your heart. And so that's what this verse is talking about. But I always love the mirror analogy, because every time I go to look in a mirror, I think about that. And so that's going to wrap up this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.